So video games aren't perfect. We all know this. Every video game that releases has its fair share of bugs and glitches and issues that just weren't able to be detected before their release and are presented to the developers by the community who plays those games. College Football 26 is no exception to this, as we have seen plenty of issues already brought up in its short release window at the time of this video. Now, last year I focused heavily on one particular aspect within Dynasty mode, and we've already heard about a lot of issues with Dynasty this year. Position changes, they have already addressed the position changes where it messed up the cap breakers. Community got their voices heard rather quickly, and that was addressed. However, there are still plenty of other issues in a Dynasty mode. For example, defensive tackles do not exist in the auto subs in Dynasty mode, so you cannot set your wear and tear for defensive tackles or your auto sub rotation. Every other position is there, defensive tackles are not. How this gets missed, I don't know. Especially with the importance of wear and tear and how it was revamped, you'd think any developer playing Dynasty mode and testing this would have probably gone into the menu and wanted to set their wear and tear for their defensive tackle, right? But I digress. That's an issue that we're going to talk about a different day, as well as the overtime issue, as well as all the players who can't play games because they're getting in the first, second quarter and just their game crashes immediately. We're going to talk about all that a different time. For this video, we're talking about player progression. Now, I have been a culprit of, or a huge critic, I should say, of the XP-based progression system ever since EA decided to go this route and left behind the same system that NBA 2K and MLB The Show use, which is the letter grade progression system, which has a more random sandbox player progression approach, and players can progress or regress really without much of their on-field performance dictating that progression or regression. XP based is completely different. Your player's development is 100% based on their performance on the field. So you can take a lower rated player and go on the field and as a user perform well with them and make them become very, very good. Players who might not be someone who should become very, very good if they start off at like a 70 overall. This also takes away the sit and develop aspect because you do not earn XP when you're developing. Now in Madden it's a little bit different because you have practice, you can put focus players and stuff, but it really doesn't have the full capability of how players should progress. And in fact, it's like most players progress no matter what to a certain age and then they regress. And in college football, it's a little bit more extreme, is they're all progressing. No players regress whatsoever. Now, when you look at it from a step back, this can work. Do I like how it works? No, but it can work if tuned correctly. The problem is EA does not do a good job of balancing XP gains per position in both college football and in Madden, and so you constantly have certain positions gaining way more XP than others on a down-to-down basis. This leads to unbalance in how rosters look after 4, 5, 6, 7 years into your dynasty and or franchise mode. Now last year I went ahead and I made this video right here, and I went into depth. I actually did a 2-part series on this and went into depth on what happens in just 4 years in your college football dynasty with XP progression at all various levels, 0, 100, and maxed out. Now, unbeknownst to me, Angry Joe Show found my video, and they actually included a snippet of what I had to say in his College Football 25 review. And
there's also a lack of off-season player progression in between your dynasty years.
There's no balance to this, all right? Now, I'm going to throw the screenshot up of the counts that I did. Anyway, this is absolutely disaster. The XP-based progression has pretty much no impact, players getting better or worse. And right now, Dynasty's unplayable unless you're okay with this. But you're going to go years in and your team's going to become really, really good overall-wise. And and it's just going to be an absolute mess when you break down overalls and things like that. And so I sent out this tweet, right? We need them to see this. So if you, whether you follow me on X or not, go find this tweet, retweet it, tag Scott OG. Gotta get somebody to pay attention to this and address this, because this is a disaster. So after I knew how poor the player progression was in Culture Bowl 25, it was really hard for me to get into my dynasty and go more than 2 years, because I knew what was going to happen. So when Culture Bowl 26 released, one of my main focal points was to look and see, did they improve the XP based progression system? The answer is no. We're going to go ahead and dive in. I got all the numbers for you guys to back up what I'm saying, because as a collective community, if we can bring this to the attention of the powers that be, maybe there's some hope for us yet. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
And Bonds hits one high. It's a dig. It is out of here. This is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable. Bryant for the win. Bang. Watch out. He's got getting away from the top speed. By Michael Short.
Alright, so before we get started, I just want to say welcome to the Sim Gaming Network. Appreciate you checking out this video. If you happen to be new and you appreciate me putting together this content for you, do me a solid, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out as we are pushing towards 19,000 subs. I can't even believe it. Also, liking the video helps spread awareness, because YouTube will push the video out to more folks who like the video. Now, I was trying to think about the best way to present this data to you guys, and I was like, let's throw up some Dynasty XP slider screen, and I was like, absolutely not. Let's just go straight into the data. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the data, and let's dive right in. Okay, so what you see right here is the spreadsheet I put together of the data. Now, this was all tested at normal coach development, and I will talk about the different XP progression for coach with the slower and the faster here later on in the video, but I want to just explain to you guys what you're looking at. So the red is going to be the base roster totals, if you couldn't tell from that on the screen. So for example, the quarterback in the base EA roster, there are 10 quarterbacks rated 90 overall or better, and there are 74 quarterbacks rated between 80 and 89. As we move down, running backs, super inflated. We got over 300 backs rated between 80 and 99 overall on 136 teams. I think that's absurd. But as we continue, you guys can see this is the data that I calculated. I spent a lot of time going through and counting this all up. Now, what I did, and I want to shout out, got some help from some folks over in the Discord who spent a lot of time helping run these tests. And these tests were not just a one-time simulation, 4 years, write down the data. This was multiple 4-year sims and taking the average of these sims. We did 3 sims at 4 years and then calculated the average number of 90 overalls and 80 overalls per position, because every single time you do a 4-year sim, the numbers were different because of, you know, recruiting classes and things like that. So you cannot just simulate one time and be like, oh, there's the number, it's good. You sim it again, the number's completely different. So to help balance that out, make sure it got accurate information, there were 4-year sims done every single time. So at 100 XP, which is the default, by the way, the amount of 90 overall quarterbacks averaged to be 6 over 4 years, and the amount of 80 overalls was 81. What you can see makes no sense is dropping the XP down to 75. The average we got was 8 and 79. And this is why I hate XP progression. It just makes no sense. But let's just talk about the 100 XP base, because that is what EA gives us as what we assume is how they tuned the game, how they tuned the Dynasty for us, and then of course we can make adjustments if we want. Looking at running backs, we had 16 running backs that were rated 90 to 99 in the base and 288 80 to 89. On a 4-year sim, multiple 4-year sims, the average on 100 XP was 2390 overalls and 156. So we do see a huge drop in the 80s and a slight increase in the amount of 90s. Tight ends was 10 90s in 90 in the 80 overall range, and 100 XP 1. There's no balance here. And this is what I want to talk about. Now, I'm not going to go through and read every single position. You guys have eyes, so you can look at this and hear me talk at the same time. I want to discuss the reason I say that this is still broken, because there are several positions which do a good job of having balance, which is an improvement over Culture Bowl 25. For example, quarterbacks, running backs, tackles, guards, edge, cornerback, and free safety. Those all you can manipulate the XP, and they do a pretty good job. You're able to get some balance there. Then you have some positions that no matter what you do to the XP slider, they inflate. They skyrocket like crazy. Wide receiver, no matter what you do, that position of talent explodes. Same with outside linebacker. Same with kickers and punters. And we'll just highlight kickers and punters for a quick moment. In the base roster, there's 0 kickers and punters in the 90s. There's 21 kickers rated 80 to 89 overall and 19 punters. 4-year sim on 100, which is what EA gives us, the average amount of kickers in the 90s is 1 and punters is 2. And then you have kickers jump up to 70 in the 80 overall in 83 for punters. That's 3 to 4 times as many as the default roster that they give us. And then you look at on 0 XP after 4 years. You don't have the 90s, but look at the amount of 80 overalls compared to the base roster. So you have some positions that no matter what you do, those positions just skyrocket. And then you also have a couple positions that no matter what you do, they refuse to progress. So center position, defensive tackle, and strong safety are 3 positions that no matter what you do, you cannot maintain the talent balance that EA gives us in the default roster. And we're going to highlight centers here, because everyone's been talking about, you know, all the sacks and stuff that they're getting from the defensive tackles. And you look at center, the base roster has 6 players rated between 90 and 99 and 54 between 80 and 89. On the average, we did 3 4-year sims on 100 XP, 0 90s, which is a huge decrease, right? So we went from 6 to 0, and only 29 rated 80 to 89 compared to the 54. Even on 300 XP, the average 90 overall was half of what it is in the base roster, and 35 to 54. Huge decline even with the max XP boost. Defensive tackles are very, very similar. We look at defensive tackles, and the overall over there, you know, the 90 overalls in the base is 9 and 97 rated between 80 and 89. 4-year sim at 100 XP on average after 3 of them, 3 90s, 77 80s. 4-year sim on 250 XP, which is a huge increase over 100 XP. You gain 1 extra 90, but you lose 380 overalls. The XPs, it doesn't make any sense, you guys. And strong safeties might, I don't know. Their strong safeties are ridiculous too, man. So strong safeties, you have 6 90s in the base roster, 63, 80 to 89. 4-year sim at 100 XP, the average was 190. Go from 6 to 1, and from 63 to 40. And at 225 XP. And guys, the reason some of these don't all have 300 is because I realized as going through this, whether you had, for some of these positions that refuse to progress, like centers, defensive tackles, strong safeties, it didn't matter if you had it at 300 XP or 250 XP or 200 XP. They didn't seem to matter. Just like wide receivers, going down to 0 didn't make much of a difference than 50 or 25. Same with outside linebackers. Like, some positions just absolutely blow up, some stay down. And again, this goes back to they do not balance the XP totals given to positions on a per play basis on what they earn, and so you have this huge discrepancy in positional groups and how they progress. This is why I hate XP based progression when it's not tuned correctly. And unfortunately for the sim community, the Dynasty community, or franchise, because this does apply to Madden too, same logic, this isn't heavily tested. This is put in there with no tests being done, because I can promise you, if the tests were being done, I have the average data at 100 XP. There is one position that came through on a 4-year sim time and time again with 100 XP where the numbers lined up, and that was the middle linebacker. We'll talk about that. The base roster was 690 overalls. The average amount of 80s was 61. Excuse me, the amount of 80s was 61. When we do 100 XP on a 4-year sim, we had 5 and 81. And I think I have a typo in there. I was testing MLB at 75, which is why the green, because those numbers obviously should match what we have for 100 XP. I was testing it at 75, just like I had done for guard and edge. So my miscalculation there. But we can see the 100 XP on a 4-year sim on average. We had 1 less 90, but we gained 80 overalls, which I will call that balanced. For progression in EA, I'll call that balanced. But even the rest of the positions, there was no group that really came across as pretty balanced other than MLB at 100 XP. The next position I'd say actually had a pretty solid balance with different XP was the quarterbacks. I will shout out that quarterbacks look pretty good on 75 XP compared to 100. Don't ask me why, but they do. But anyway, guys, I don't want to keep ranting on this. I don't want to make this video super long. This is just presenting the data to you guys. I will be releasing the XP sliders that I do recommend based on this data. Some of them in here, some of them are in this video, and some of them aren't, but because they do have other impacts as well. But anyways, I just want to bring awareness to you guys on this, that unfortunately, you know, you get 4 years in and things aren't going to look as balanced as they were. I mean, when you look at the amount of wide receiver inflation, and you look at the fact there's going to be no good strong safeties, and you look at the fact that punters and kickers are going to become really good, you're not going to have any talent at the center position or the defensive tackle position. It's tight ends were a really weird one too. Tight ends progressed really weird. So with that being said, guys, I hope you appreciate that data. Oh, before I forget, I do want to say the testing at the fastest and the slowest speed, does it impact this? Well, I'll tell you, it's inconclusive, because there were some tests ran with the XP for coach at the fastest, and it initially looked like it was going to increase the amount of 90 overalls, but as continued to do the tests and looked at other positions, it determined to be not the case. It might have been a fluke, one of those random sims. It determined to be inconclusive. Same when we lowered the XP base down for the coach down to the slowest setting. It did not have any conclusive impact on the numbers of talent that you see in the positions for 90 and 80 overalls. So want to get that information out there as well. Otherwise, guys, please let me know what you think of this video in the comment section below, and hopefully as a community we can get EA to go in and actually tune this and get us proper balance with the way players earn XP in the game. It's just all it needs is a quick positional balance, man. That's all it is. That's all it is. So anyway, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Otherwise, stay tuned to the next one. Peace.